This week, on our free preview of By the Numbers, join us as we talk about now President Trump. New mandates from rate cuts to executive orders requiring government agencies to reduce prices for Americans. For now, sit back, relax, and join us as we take you through the numbers. Hi, Lauren.
Hi, Lindsay.
How are you?
I'm doing great. You?
I'm good, thank you. The first headline today is Trump demands Fed cut rates, claims better monetary policy understanding. So in summary, the article is talking about how President Donald Trump said on Thursday that he wants the Federal Reserve to cut interest rates right now.
Yes, this week is the meeting.
Right. So Trump is citing that lower oil prices demand lower interest rates, but Fed officials are viewing the current policy landscape with caution. And I will start with the direct quote that, kind of started off the article itself as well. So this is a direct quote from President Donald Trump. With oil prices going down, I'll demand that interest rates drop immediately. And likewise, they should be dropping all over the world. So really the first question here is, can the president of the United States mandate rate cuts? It's always been my understanding that the Federal Reserve is independent, nonpartisan. So what leverage does the president have over this group?
So ideally none, right? We don't want a political body determining interest rate cuts to make things look better under one party than the other, right? That is typically not how a sustainable economic policy should be implemented.
Is that New York Fed President John Williams? He says the economic outlook remains highly uncertain, especially around especially around potential fiscal, trade, immigration, and regulatory policies. Therefore, our decision on future monetary policy action will continue to be based on the totality of the data, the evolution of economic outlook, and the risks to achieving our dual mandate goals. And I just thought this quote really reminded me of everything that we're constantly saying. Policy, not politics.
Yes.
And, which is why, you've already mentioned it a little bit, why we're leading up to this March summit. We've planned this summit for March, hoping that we'll have more information regarding these policies, be able to talk about their impacts, largely inflationary or otherwise. And, that quote just kind of sums it all up for me. You can come in and start mandating this, that, and the other thing, or demanding it, but we got to keep it focused on the data. We got to keep it focused on the numbers, which is what we will be doing in March. And we will be not just talking about it and hinting at it. We will link more information to the summit if you're interested in reserving your seat. Registration is open.
It is open now. That's exciting.
Yeah. And more on, not just policy and politics in general, but there will be a couple of different sessions and keynote sessions and
a lot of strategy sessions, which I'm excited to attend.
Is really cool.
It's my part of it is policy, not politics. So I'm excited to delve in there. This is where I get fired up.
You're perfect for the job.
Thank you.
We basically do a case study on it every day in here.
We really do. But you bring up a really interesting point with that, Lindsay, which is that we do analyze policies, right? We see what would the impact be of tariffs, of mass deportations, of whatever else.
Right.
I think of it as an overlay. And beneath that, the kind of core fundamental drivers, those are much bigger than policies. So as I look at our inflation outlook, we actually haven't adjusted it since all of these, again, not hard policies yet, but these ideas started coming into focus because we see inflation rising by the end of this year, certainly in 2026, for fundamental reasons. It's not just tariffs. It's not just that Trump browbeat Powell into cutting rates too far. There are really fundamental drivers of things that have already happened in the current administration, even the one before that, right? We're still feeling these kind of COVID echoes, the supply chain ramifications. Those are somewhat more played out, but our fiscal policy, that turns out to be a lot bigger of a driver. So I don't want to come back here like a year from now and say, well, inflation rose, look what we said. This is really in place before we get tariffs, before we get a lot of these inflationary policies. So it's not any one person's fault. There are just so many big drivers. And at the end of the day, that gives me a little confidence that we can see it coming. We can plan for it because the economy, it's not turning on a dime.
Well, right. But I mean, regardless of how hard we beat this drum and how loud we say all of this now, I promise you at the next debate stage, it will be a debate on whose economy is better or worse.
It will.
And, it's interesting from our seat to not be screaming at the television in those scenarios. But as long as we can, get our mouth to the ears of the world of business, then hopefully we can help.
I know. I wish we could get the politicians to listen to us because that would be so great to be like, no, you inherited this economy. We had our forecast in place. That came to fruition because you or despite you, right? But it isn't. It's just especially this year, right? Really, this is an inherited economy. It was headed on the direction it was headed. So how much can we do at this point? It seems to me to be more at the margin.
It tries to narrow it down as well. There's a quote within here that says, Trump's cost of living order fails to address the root causes of inflation, namely corporate profiteering and broken supply chains. This order is a talking point, not a plan. And this was said by Lindsay Owens, executive director of the Groundwork Collaborative, which is a progressive economic think tank. So let's dial it in there. Corporate profiteering and broken supply chains.
Corporate profiteering and supply chains. I mean, this one threw me the other direction because, yes, back in, 2021, supply chains were a problem. That shortage of goods caused higher prices. Today, our supply chain is relatively fixed. Not in everything. I still talk to some clients that say there's this one specific component that you just can't get or it has a long lead time. The price has gone up. But in general, supply chain, that's a 4-year ago problem. We're not still living in that, again, for the most part. And corporate profiteering, I'm really glad you brought up that this was a progressive think tank that put this statement out because we actually did a previous article. We'll link to it, I'm sure, somewhere in the show notes. But we looked at, is it corporate greed that's driving prices higher? And we said no. We found that was not the driver.
Well, we have lots to talk about with regards to the construction industry because that's where all eyes will be, according to your largest fears on upcoming policy.
It's a big one right now.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Lauren. I appreciate your time as always. And thank you to all of you for hanging in there with us as we take you through the numbers. But until next time, bye, Lauren.
Bye, Lindsay.
And that concludes our free preview. If you'd like to subscribe to full-length episodes, click on the link in the description below. You can subscribe to our Insider Plus membership, which includes not only this show, but monthly webinars and other economic content that you won't want to miss. And we'll see you next time on By the Numbers.